The world did not end in fire, but in a sudden, absolute, sickening halt.
Everything we built was designed for a spinning globe, not a stationary rock.
Gravity became a mere suggestion as the immense momentum threw history off its feet.
Nature bowed violently to the east, unable to resist the sudden, invisible atmospheric force.
Everyday shelters collapsed effortlessly, proving exactly how fragile our modern existence truly was. The power grid failed instantly, plunging humanity into a cold, unnatural, and permanent darkness.
Monuments of engineering were torn apart like fragile cobwebs in a raging hurricane.
Our tallest achievements rained down upon the streets, erased by a wind that refused to die.
The oceans rejected their ancient boundaries, gathering their immense strength for the final cleansing. Our grandest machines became helpless toys, dragged mercilessly across the ruined concrete surface.
The roaring engines of industry were violently silenced, their toxic breath scattered to the wind.
Miracles of modern aviation were permanently grounded, crushed by the terrifying weight of the new atmosphere. The sheer inertia ripped family homes from the earth like unwanted weeds in a garden.
The tools we used to reach the sky became the very instruments of our destruction.
The sudden absolute stop squeezed the planet, permanently blurring the line between the ocean and the shore.
The global harvest was violently scattered into the sky, leaving behind nothing but barren, poisoned dirt.
Wealth and security meant absolutely nothing when the very ground beneath our feet utterly betrayed us.
Continents groaned under the sudden stress, radically reshaping the geography of the world in mere seconds. Centuries of careful human memory were erased in an instant by the brutal, uncaring atmosphere.
Colosseums of modern glory folded instantly under the terrifying weight of the new atmospheric reality.
The oceans simply kept moving, burying entire coastal cities beneath the unstoppable dark tide.
The magnetic field collapsed entirely, exposing our fragile atmosphere to the raw cosmic storms.
Gravity held the water down, but inertia dragged it violently across the dry continents. The atmosphere continued its rotation, unleashing winds that scoured the surface down to bedrock. Nature itself was caught completely off guard, instantly crushed by the invisible supersonic force.
Roads that once connected our world were broken into meaningless chunks of scattered stone.
Centuries of careful human architecture were erased in mere seconds by the brutal atmosphere. The sudden stop shattered the crust, awakening the angry, molten core beneath our feet. Miracles of modern aviation became heavy metal coffins, dragged mercilessly across the ruined concrete. Without the spin, our protective shield vanished, leaving the volatile reactors to boil and crack. Shelters turned into shrapnel, riding the supersonic winds across the newly barren global wasteland.
The relentless forward momentum dragged thousands of tons of steel into the dusty abyss.
The oceans rejected their boundaries, throwing floating palaces miles inland to rot away forever. Beacons of hope were shattered instantly as the dark water rose to claim everything. The sudden stop squeezed the planet, forcing the ancient sleeping mountains to aggressively awake. Even the frozen caps shifted, bringing towering mountains of ice crashing down on the land. The tools of our survival were tossed aside like irrelevant metal toys in the dirt. The giant structures built to tame the rivers were annihilated by the unleashed eastern surge. Colosseums of modern glory folded instantly under the terrifying weight of the new atmospheric reality. Humanity was left completely deaf and blind as the last listening arrays were torn apart. The centrifugal force vanished, draining the equatorial oceans to reveal a vast, lifeless desert. Water migrated relentlessly toward the poles, drowning northern lands under a heavy, dark sea.
Half the globe was condemned to an eternal, boiling day under a locked sun. The other half of the world plunged into an endless, crushing, and silent ice age.
Without our magnetic shield, invisible cosmic storms rained down, poisoning the newly exposed surface.
The exposed equatorial crust cracked violently, forming a new, hostile, and unstable megacontinent.
Lifeline rivers boiled away into nothing, leaving behind only cracked mud and stranded vessels. Relentless walls of ice marched forward in the dark, erasing everything in their path.
Unfiltered solar radiation scorched the remaining flora, ending any desperate hopes for a harvest.
The very air grew fatally thin, suffocating the high peaks of the ruined world.
Eternal daylight sparked unstoppable infernos, reducing the dry urban jungles to crumbling, silent ash.
Even the mighty ocean was silenced, trapped forever within towering monuments of solid ice.
The reshaping of the globe tore the continents apart, swallowing our paths into darkness.
Water became a distant myth as the stationary sun baked the earth into stone. Subterranean shelters became freezing tombs, sealed forever by layers of unbreakable, silent permafrost. Without the spin, gravity itself felt strange, slowly pulling the heaviest machines to dirt.
The migrating oceans met the eternal night, creating jagged mountain ranges of frozen waves.
Our concrete fortresses offered no protection against the silent, invisible rain of cosmic death.
The earth was cleanly divided into two hells, the burning light and freezing dark.
The great deep was emptied, leaving behind only towering, rusted monuments in the dust.
The northern world was entombed forever in a silent, completely inescapable prison of ice. What we placed in the heavens eventually tumbled down upon a dead, unmoving world.
The twilight line became a permanent nightmare of endless, violent, and highly toxic storms.
Armies of metal rusted into utter nothingness beneath the gaze of a locked sun. Our proudest towers became mere frozen grave markers, poking through the endless dark night.
All the memories of our civilization were quietly buried beneath an ocean of dust. The ruined earth cracked open, bleeding its toxic heart into the dry, breathless atmosphere. The equator tore itself apart, revealing the deep, burning anger of the wounded planet. Industry was frozen solid, locked permanently within the cold, unforgiving grip of the poles. Our vast digital empires melted back into the hot, barren sand from which they came.
Temples of faith stood stripped and hollow under a sky that had abandoned them.
The neighborhoods we once loved vanished entirely under an ocean of relentless, gray ash.
Machines of grand momentum were conquered easily by the slow, crushing march of glaciers. The equatorial crust baked until it shattered, melting our steel back into raw ore.
Toxic skies wept acid upon the ruins, erasing the last stubborn marks of humanity.
Roads of great journey now led. Now,
Places of bright joy were warped into terrifying, frozen monuments of a dead era.
the silent void stripped away our armor, leaving the ruins completely exposed to eternity.
The spinning top finally rested, leaving an eternal, motionless tomb drifting through the void.